Johnson family had always believed that a home was more than just walls and a roof. It was a place where memories were made and beauty was created. Emma Johnson, the heart of the family, found her joy in gardening. She didn't care for expensive hobbies or luxury vacations. Her happiness came from soil, seeds, and sunshine. Every morning, she would step outside with her watering can, her gloves, and her small basket of tools, ready to bring her little patch of land to life. Her front yard became a canvas. In spring, bright tulips and daffodils waved gently in the breeze. In summer, roses, marigolds, and daisies filled the air with color and fragrance. By autumn, the yard turned into a warm quilt of oranges, yellows, and deep reds. It wasn't just a garden. It was art, a masterpiece that changed with every season. People walking their dogs would often pause just to admire it. Parents walking their kids to school smiled when their children pointed out butterflies resting on petals. For the neighborhood, Emma's garden was a blessing. But for Emma, the flowers were more than decoration. Years earlier, she had gone through a difficult time after losing her job. The stress left her feeling empty and defeated. Gardening became her therapy, her way of healing. Plant by plant, she rebuilt her confidence. The blossoms weren't just for beauty. They were a reflection of her own growth. Her husband often said with pride, asterisk, this garden didn't just save the yard. It saved Emma's spirit. Asterisk. Yet not everyone saw it that way. Karen, the HOA president, didn't see flowers. She saw violations. In her eyes, the neighborhood had to remain uniform and green. Rows of identical lawns with trimmed grass, nothing more. To Karen, Emma's colorful yard broke the sense of order. She saw wildness where others saw beauty, disorder where others saw peace. And she was determined to put a stop to it. One quiet morning, Emma walked outside to find a notice pinned to her mailbox in bold letters. Remove all non-grass plants within 14 days or face a /$3,000 fine. Emma froze as she read the words. Her hands trembled. $3,000 for flowers? She wasn't running a business. She wasn't harming anyone. How could something so pure and joyful be considered a violation? She sat on her porch steps, staring at her garden with tears in her eyes. The flowers that gave her hope were now being treated like a crime. That evening, she told her husband, asterisk, I can't do it. I can't rip them out. These flowers are a part of me. Asterisk, he placed a hand on her shoulder and said, asterisk, then we won't. We'll fight this. Asterisk. When Emma called the HOA office for clarity, Karen herself answered. Her voice was sharp and cold. Rules are rules, Karen said. Asterisk, this isn't a botanical garden. Either you comply or you pay the fine. End of discussion. Asterisk, Emma tried to explain what the garden meant to her, but Karen cut her off. Asterisk, we can't make exceptions. Uniform lawns keep property values high. Your garden is a distraction. Asterisk, then she hung up. Word of the notice spread quickly. Neighbors came by to comfort Emma. Many signed a petition saying they supported her garden, explaining how it brightened their mornings and gave the street character. One elderly neighbor said, asterisk, I've lived here 20 years, and this is the first time I've seen so many butterflies on our street. Why would anyone want to take that away? Asterisk, children drew pictures of flowers and gave them to Emma, saying they loved visiting her yard. It was clear, most of the community stood with her. The next HOA meeting was packed. Tension filled the room. Karen, with her usual clipboard and stern expression, repeated the rulebook. Asterisk, only grass is allowed. No exceptions. Asterisk, she warned that letting one person break the rules would lead to chaos. But Emma stood, her voice calm yet firm. She spoke not only of her flowers but of what they represented. Healing, joy, and life. She explained how the garden wasn't just for her, but for everyone who smiled when they passed by. As she finished, many neighbors clapped in support. Karen banged her gavel, trying to silence them, but the room had already shifted. The HOA's power was being questioned. Emma wasn't finished. She began researching laws and discovered that her state had specific protections called pollinator-friendly plant laws. These laws encouraged residents to grow flowers that supported bees, butterflies, and other pollinators, even if an HOA tried to restrict them. It was proof that her garden wasn't just legal, it was important for the environment. With this knowledge, she reached out to environmental organizations, who quickly offered support. Then came the turning point. A local journalist heard about the case and ran the headline, HOA fines woman $3,000 for growing flowers. The story spread online like wildfire. Pictures of Emma's vibrant garden contrasted sharply with the idea of punishment. Thousands of people shared the article, outraged that beauty and nature could be treated as violations. Social media users left comments like, asterisk, how can anyone fine someone for planting flowers? Asterisk and asterisk. This HOA is out of control. Asterisk. The pressure on the HOA became unbearable. Emails flooded their office, demanding answers. Phone calls from outside the neighborhood poured in. Karen herself faced a storm of criticism online, her strictness now seen as cruelty. The HOA board members began to divide, some siding with Karen, others fearing the negative publicity. Finally, after weeks of resistance, the HOA caved. The fine was dropped. New guidelines were even drafted to allow pollinator gardens, with Emma's yard recognized as the first official community-friendly pollinator space. That weekend, Emma hosted a garden day. Families came with their children, sipping lemonade, taking pictures, and enjoying the colors. Laughter filled the street. Butterflies fluttered from flower to flower as neighbors admired the garden they had fought to protect. Even those who once quietly sided with Karen admitted that the flowers brought life to the community. For Emma, victory wasn't about avoiding a fine. It was about proving that kindness, beauty, and nature matter more than rigid rules. As the sun set and Emma watered her roses, she felt a deep sense of peace. The garden wasn't just hers anymore. It belonged to everyone who believed in standing up for what's right.